Hello YouTube, Dave here again, back with another short, but hopefully to the point, Pathfinder 2nd Edition related video. I'm also been dealing with a pretty rough cold the last few days, so I apologize if I sound a little congested, or hopefully I won't go into a coughing fit in the middle of recording. But the purpose of this video, as the title says, is I want to sort of clarify critical hits for attack rolls in 2nd Edition Pathfinder. So in the past I talked about how a natural 20 would be considered an automatic critical when making weapon attacks, and a lot of times I end up being corrected by people saying that a natural 20, all it does is increase the degree of success by one. It doesn't guarantee a critical. And so I want to sort of put that to bed because there are different places in the book that sort of clarify things. So the first thing I actually want to do is look through the index here, and we'll just see what we have and some page references to look at. So let's just have a quick look here. Alright, so we have critical. So it says you get a greater success, a critical success, by rolling 10 above your DC, or a worse failure, a critical failure, by rolling 10 lower than your DC. And then it gives the pages of 445 and 446, and then critical strike at 471, and then critical specialization for weapons. So I'm not going to look at the critical specializations for weapons, but I will be going into that chapter. I'm also not going to look at page 471 because all it does is give the description of the ability for when you strike with a weapon, and it just says if you get a critical success you deal double the damage. So what I do want to go to is look at page 445 and through 446 and just see sort of what we have here. And again, I'm hoping that this will just sort of explain things. Now, the critical hit card deck and the critical fumble card deck also specify how they're used, but I had people question that because it was a product that came out afterwards. So what we're going to look at here is step 4, determine the degree of success. So it says, many times it is important to determine not only if you succeed or fail, but also how spectacularly you succeed or fail. Exceptional results, either good or bad, can cause you to critically succeed at or critically fail a check. You critically succeed at a check when a check's result meets or exceeds the DC by 10 or more. If the check is an attack roll, this is sometimes called a critical hit. You can also critically fail a check. The rules for critical failure, sometimes called a fumble, are the same as those for critical success, but in the other direction. If you fail a check by 10 or more, it's a critical failure. If you roll the 20 on the die, or a natural 20, your result is 1 degree of success better than it would be by the numbers alone. If you roll a 1 on a d20, or a natural 1, your result is 1 degree worse. That means that a natural 20 usually results in a critical success, while a natural 1 usually results in a critical failure. However, if you're going up against a very high DC, you might only get a success with a natural 20, or even a failure if 20 plus your total modifier is 10 or more below the DC. Likewise, if your modifier for a statistic is so high that adding 1 to your d20 roll, from your d20 roll, exceeds the DC by 10 or more, you can still succeed even if you roll a natural 1. If a feat, magic item, spell, or other effect does not list critical success or critical failure, treat it as an ordinary success or failure instead. Some other abilities can change the degree of success for the rolls you get. When resolving the effects of an ability that changes your degree of successes, always apply the adjustment from a natural 20 or a 1 before anything else. So this generally seems to be referring to more things like skill checks and stuff of that nature. It does mention attack rolls, but in this situation, what it's saying is that to get a critical success, the natural 20 will likely cause it, but the main contributing factor is if the DC is equaled or exceeded by 10 or more. Sorry. So if you're trying to get something with a DC of 20 and you get a total of 30, it would be considered a critical success. But if you, for example, you roll a natural 20 and you add your modifier and it's still less than the regular DC. Instead of a failing, you just get a regular success. So it's sort of that, like, 5% chance to do something impossible, or the 5% chance to essentially fail at something that should be, a given. So this is where the statements come from a lot, that for attack rolls you only get a critical success if you roll a natural 20 and it wouldn't be considered a regular hit. Your modifiers are still enough for it to be a regular hit, therefore increasing it by 1 degree to a critical instead of just a regular hit. But in this situation, the response that I've been getting is that if the armor class was so high that a 20 plus the attack bonus still would miss, that it would only be a regular hit. And this is where I wanted to bring you to the description for the, not the strike ability, because strike ability doesn't really go into it, but we got to go all the way back into the equipment section. Alright, and the page that I'm looking at is on page 278. So again, the page references that they give you for critical stuff is the critical specializations, and that's described on later on. But if you go to, get back to it here, so if you go to page 278, it says right here under critical hits, it says when you make an attack roll and roll a natural 20, meaning that the number on the die is 20, or the result of your attack exceeds the target's AC by 10, you achieve a critical success. If you critically succeed at a strike, you deal your attack deals double damage. Other attacks, such as spell attack rolls and some use of the athletic skill, describes the effects that occur when the outcomes are critical success. The one thing it doesn't mention here really is the critical failure on a natural 1, but if you look on page 278 under critical hits, it does state that when you make a weapon attack roll, and or it just says an attack roll here in this case, but it is referring to weapons. If you roll a natural 20, it's considered a critical success regardless, because it's a weapon attack. The situation where the natural 20 increasing the degree of success or failure by 1, I would say applies more to things like skill checks, saving throws, and things of that like. But for those that wanted confirmation or clarification as to where I got the fact that a natural 20 on an attack roll is always going to be a critical, and again, keep in mind that I'm referring to weapons here, because it does specify that spell attacks and other things have their own particular specific descriptions. But when it comes to the weapon attacks, if you roll natural 20, it is considered a critical success. You can also get a critical success by getting 10 greater than the AC. But a natural 20, even if you would have missed with your modifiers, would still be considered a critical hit, because that's what it says here. So if you roll a natural 20, you achieve a critical success, also known as a critical hit. So I hope that helps a little bit, and hopefully that will make it so that I don't have to explain this several times in the comments below. But let me know if there's any other rules-related questions that you might have about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I'm not going to say that I'm the definitive source to get that stuff from, but if there are things that you want me to take a look into, I can certainly do that and see sort of what I can find. Or if I can't find anything, even just let you know how I would personally handle it in my own games. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it helped out at least a little bit. Again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.